Hey everyone, today on Global Gossip, I'm going to be talking about the crisis at the border. I'm going to try to give you as much facts as possible because they're really all over the place. So let me start by saying that this video is for entertainment purposes only. I will give you facts based with my opinions, but for the most part, I try to stick to the script and try to be neutral in this topic. In any topic that I do, even though I do have my own opinions about it, and I will tell you those opinions. So here we go. The biggest question I see with the immigration issue that we're having currently is why now? So the border has been a big political topic, usually followed by political agenda and everything for a very long time. We tried to make our borders more secure, like many countries, for many, many years. Okay, so walls and countries. A lot of countries have border walls or some form of barrier at their country. Some are way more strict than others. Some were put in place by terrible people to control their own population and their own country, and others were put in as sheer protection for their own people. So there's a lot of different kind of walls, I feel like, even though they're the same thing, their purposes were started differently or for differently. Mainly what we're seeing now in the US, everybody's trying to blame Trump for a lot of things now. Okay, this is what happens a lot of times. You get blamed for the former. It depends on what you inherit. It depends on what side of the aisle you're on. It depends on what's going on in the world. I mean, it can go on and on and on and on. The only time it doesn't ever happen usually is if there's a peaceful transition of power, like a person gets reelected a second term, or if it's, a Democrat to a Democrat, or even a Republican to a Republican. And even then sometimes, like I know Donald Trump did not agree with all of the Republicans across the board. And he's made that very clear, along with, I would assume that any politician doesn't agree with any person across the board. Like, that just doesn't happen. We're human. We all believe in different things. That's the beautiful thing about this country. And that's why a lot of people want to come here for freedom. But let's get started where the United States and the border wall began. Okay? And let's get some facts straight. So in November of 1989, the Berlin Wall came crashing down. And humanity cheered, like that wall needed to come down. It was separating East and West Germany, basically. And we all know what came out of Germany. So, yeah, that needed to come down. And so the two were able to unite and be one big country, and it ended the terrible regime stuff that was going on over there, okay? So everyone cheered. United States, probably the loudest. But within 5 years of that, the United States, under the direction of President Bill Clinton, a wall would start being built at our border. When they first started building the wall, they did not stop people from coming in. All they did was made it harder by making them go through this rough terrain. And because of that, thousands died because of it. I don't know that there's ever been a number, because they probably don't know a number, because it's some really, really rough terrain. I mean, you can literally get on Google Earth and just zoom in at the border wall, and it'll show you exactly where the border is and where it goes across. It crosses major mountainous areas. It crosses a river. And some of this property is directly crossing into people's farms. And I know for a personal fact that my mom knows people that live in South Texas that have had people like come to the front of their home, demand things, come home to people that have broken into their house and are sleeping in their bed and have bled all over their house, and they're just some person that's here illegally. But the reason we got kind of strict on stuff was mainly really after 9/11. We were brought to our knees. And at 9/11, a terrorist regime took out thousands of Americans. And on 9/12, every American, I would say for the most part, came together and stood in solidarity against these people who wanted to take our way of life and our way of living, which is rightfully so. And if y'all don't follow Graham Allen, y'all really should. And no, I'm not getting a sponsor or anything from that. I don't have that kind of following, but I do really, really enjoy his podcast. I support his clothing line. Him and his wife are amazing. And he started a line called 9/12, and it is the day after 9/11 when everyone was proud to be an American. Didn't matter what your nationality was. It didn't matter what your gender was. It didn't matter what your race was. It didn't matter if you were here as an immigrant or if you were born here. Everyone came together and said, what the hell? This is horrible. Not on our soil. And it was a beautiful thing to see out of the most horrific attack we had ever seen on U.S. soil, past like Pearl Harbor, which happened in the 40s. Okay, so this is why they really cracked down on the border wall. The wall at the U.S. and Mexico border has been in intermittent construction for 25 years. It's currently about 800 miles of fortified structure with 2,000-mile-long border. And this article, let's see, when was this article written? It doesn't tell me, but I will leave the link to this in the comments, okay? But this has some really good facts about the wall. President Clinton was limited to the cities of El Paso and San Diego. There was poor farmers there displaced by NAFTA, had begun crossing in like major numbers, just coming across. So the wall did not stop poor migrants. It didn't. It just basically turned them to a harsher terrain. Well, over time, the cartel has gotten so out of hand in Mexico that they basically control who crosses illegally into the United States. And the main problem with this is a lot of people, I won't say every, let me rephrase that. A lot of people think that it is all Mexican immigrants illegally getting into the United States. This is not true. This is not true at all. People want to come to the United States, okay? And I've said this in other videos. The process is not an easy fix, clearly. We were trying to build under Trump a fortified wall. Think of it as funneling people in, okay? When you can funnel people in, like Black Friday shopping, y'all, when people go in and they're funneling in, and then the process goes easier when there's lines and, all that kind of stuff. If you're just coming in all willy-nilly, all over the place, all crazy, there's no way to track you. There's no way to tax you. There's no way to hold you accountable unless you get arrested by the cops. There's just a lot of things that can go really wrong with that. And especially with the cartel being involved, because what they're doing is they're holding these people for ransom, basically. People that they know that they have family members in the United States, they're asking, do you have family members in the United States? And if they do, then they're holding them for ransom and then getting money, and then they're not letting their family members go. They're killing them. They're murdering them. And unfortunately, certain populations and certain socialized people are getting apparently hit harder based off of some of the news articles that I've seen. After 9/11, there were laws passed and acts passed in Congress out of fear of further attacks, for sure. The Real ID Act was created in 2005. passed by Congress and the newly created Homeland Security, and the Department of Homeland Security waived all laws to build the border wall, to start building the wall. And that was followed by the Secure Fence Acts of 2006, which mandate the construction of about 700 miles of border walls, barriers in the U.S. and Mexico. So this construction, so we got that right down. The border wall started under Clinton. And since 2006, there have been 4 times where the border wall has received bipartisan support. And these are the votes. The Secure Fence Act in 2006. This mandated the Department of Homeland Security construct about 700 miles of border barrier from the U.S. Mexico, and it passed with bipartisan support, which resulted in about 350 miles of wall being built by President George W. Bush and Barack Obama. So she spoke with another one that the camp is sealed off, where Mexico has them camped off at. It's completely sealed off. There are no press inside. There's no one allowed in. They cannot get out. They're just there. So she basically went to the fence and was talking to people. She talked to one from El Salvador. She talked to Nicaragua and Guatemala. All these countries that people are coming in to there. People come across, they get across oceans or come up so far from the Americas, the South Americas, that they are coming up and coming to the south border of the United States. Why aren't you going through Canada, they ask? Because Canada won't let you in. So that ought to give you something to think about. They also have the people inside these fences seeking asylum, they said they don't know what to believe because they've been told one thing. They were told they were gonna get to come in on the 19th, then the 23rd, and so this is all coming, I'm assuming, from the Biden administration via the Mexican embassies or whatever they are. But these migrants are just easy targets for the cartel. Easy targets, like completely easy targets. Like, might as well put a bullseye on their back. So the second time was the Border Security Economic Opportunity and Modernization Act. That was in 2013, and it was passed by the U.S. Senate with support of every single Democrat in 2013. This bill was called the Border Surge. The bill provided some $40 billion to what Senator John McCain called a militarization of the U.S. and Mexico border, including $20 billion for a border wall. In 2018, the federal budget appropriations bill provided $1.6 billion for border barrier enhancements and construction, along with increased border militarization. This funding was used majorly on wall construction under the Trump administration. This appropriation budget in 2018 was passed with bipartisan support. So both sides of the aisle supported this. In 2019, a budget was provided of $1.3 billion in funding for a border wall construction and passed with bipartisan support again, and was approved after the longest partial government shutdown in U.S. history. And it was over border wall funding. Now I'm going to tell you countries that have border barrier. Separation that runs along an international border, typically constructed by Border Control, such as curbing illegal immigrants, human trafficking, and smuggling. And this is on your good old Wikipedia, guys. Barriers by region. Africa has Botswana, Morocco, South Africa. So Africa has 5. The Americas, Argentina, Dominican Republic, United States. Asia has 16. And along those include China, Egypt, India, Iran, Israel, Korea, Kuwait, Pakistan, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Thailand, Turkey, United Arab Emirates, and Uzbekistan. In Europe, Austria, Belarus, Bulgaria, Denmark, Estonia, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Latvia, Lithuania, Macedonia, Norway, Serbia, Slovenia, Spain, Ukraine, and the United Kingdom. All have border walls. All those places. Not just the United States, guys. As of right now, under construction, China has Chinese and Korea have a border fence. It's under construction. And plan is Estonia and Russia. Under construction, India and Bangladesh. Under construction, Iran and Pakistan. Under construction, Pakistan and Afghanistan. North Syria and Macedonia barrier. Under construction, Slovenia and Croatia. Under construction, Turkey and Syria. Under construction, Turkey and Iran. Under construction, Ukraine and Russia. Under construction, United Arab Emirates and Oman barrier. Partially constructed, Mexico and the United States border. Out of all those, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28 other borders and many other planned borders, okay? Now, let's get to this. Why now? We are seeing a surge at the U.S. border because Biden promised benefits for everyone. This is where I have a problem because we cannot house our vets. We have homeless populations in cities that are insane. They have completely taken over areas. They have completely shut down cities and taken over and made tent cities. And they are living in underground tunnels in certain parts of California. The homeless population in Colorado is insane, and I've seen it with my own eyes. The homeless population in Atlanta is bad, and human trafficking, that's where that comes in. A lot of human trafficked people for sex and labor come from the homeless population. They come out of poverty situations. So I'm not saying that's the number one reason for human trafficking, but that is a huge chunk of where that problem stems from, is homeless population. They are asking for asylum. And these people are coming from everywhere. They are not all Mexico nationalists. Okay? They're not. I've watched many news reports on this from many different news programs. They are not all Mexican nationalists. So for the people that say that, that's ignorant. They're not. They're just trying to get asylum in the United States. And I don't blame them. If I was from a place that was really bad or I was fleeing for my life, I would try to seek asylum too, I'm sure. It's not the point. It's the process that's so messed up. Building the border wall and then being able to have multiple places where they could have facilities that they could bring people in and get them put through the system faster would create more jobs on the U.S. side and safely get more immigrants legally into the country. Then they're documented, they have the paperwork they need, they can work anywhere they are qualified to work at or want to work at, they can get tax refunds and all that when they pay their taxes just like any normal American. That's the point. The system is broken, okay? You can't just promise people the moon and then give them a tarp in a tree, because that's what's happening. They have set up these camps down at the border. And I was watching Vice News, which I don't agree with everything Vice says, but they do make some very valid points. And once again, I'm not getting any kickbacks from saying that. But they do have some they kind of go like in depth, like, you know, like 60 minutes kind of stuff. Like they go in these places. Some of them are a little bit more like, that's too much for me. But the asylum seekers that they spoke with were El Salvadorian, Guatemalan, Cuban. Where else were they from? A lot of those were the main ones. And they are living in a tent city outside of Brownsville is where they took them. I believe that's in Texas. So when Biden said, or Nancy Pelosi says, we just say open Biden. Well, that's what happened. And all these people seeking asylum are coming in, and they're coming in from everywhere. Now, some of them are testing COVID positive. I didn't see them testing anybody in the Vice News thing. I don't know if that was because they weren't testing people there, or because they already had gotten tested, or they just weren't testing. I don't know. So I'm not going to assume. But I have seen news articles where they let buses of people in that were positive for COVID, and they just said, when you get to your destination, quarantine for 2 weeks. What's your destination? Have you proven that you have family members in the United States? Are you going to a hotel? Like, what? What are you doing? And these are the same people. So when Trump tried to stop people from coming in with COVID, okay, Nancy Pelosi threw a party in Chinatown. They tried to stop him from shutting down the borders and shutting down travel while we were trying to get ahead of the curve of COVID, okay? Then they turned around and said that he didn't do a good enough job and he didn't shut the borders down fast enough. And there are actually tweets to prove that. Like, there are a legitimate list of them. Like, you can look them up. Now, since Biden has said that, or Nancy said open Biden, and Biden, I guess, opened the borders, but they are saying Alejandro Mayorkas, I might have butchered that in the last name, but if I did, I'm sorry, addressed the crisis and said that the borders are not open. And we don't have a crisis. We have a situation. FEMA's there because they have so many thousands of people coming across to seek asylum, not to mention the people that are just hopping over, climbing over, or going under. They're built tunnels. They've built tunnels to go under. Now, most of those tunnels are for drug trafficking, I believe. There were a bunch of rumors going around about children trafficking, but then there's the other odd things. The Migrant Protection Protocol was a Trump era policy. And when they opened, I keep saying open the border because that's what's happening. I mean, the first group arrived at the Brownsville bus station, and Vice News was there and spoke with a Cuban asylum seeker who has waited for a year to get into the United States. The current administration is saying, we're not saying don't come, we're saying don't come right this minute. When you have hundreds of people, thousands of people waiting in tent cities, they've literally built tent cities, and they're fenced in. One of them, I don't know if one of them was fenced in, but the other one that are asylum seekers from other countries, Mexico has them fenced in with barbed wire, and they're literally living in tents. Not even tents, they're tarps. And they're asking these people, how long can you live like this, And they're like, we don't know. And they've been there. Some of them have been there for 18 months. Some of them have been there for longer. Some of them have been there for less. And they're seeking asylum to the United States. But they're in that position. So there was a man that they spoke with. And he first tried to get into the United States when he was 19 years old. He had tried 8 times since, and he's now 52 years old. He is organizing, trying to set up people in these camps so that they can be brought legally into the United States. And I don't know if that just means by seeking asylum, or if I don't know if that means by taking the process and becoming a United States citizen. I'm assuming that when you seek asylum, like, that's the goal, is to become a United States citizen, because why else would you, I don't know. He's asking the U.S. and Mexico not to destroy these camps, because within these camps, within these numbers, they do find safety within numbers with each other. Because what's happening is the cartel is kidnapping people and holding them ransom for money for people that are in the United States. Or they're saying, well, oh, we can get you in, but you're going to be a mule for us, and you're going to carry in this, and we're going to show you where to go in at. And they're taking these people, and they're making them mules to take God knows what or who into the United States illegally. Now, might I remind you that the facility that they are being held in, and these cages that they're not calling cages anymore, were built by Obama and Biden, their first term. You're welcome. But now that Biden is the president, they are saying that they're detention centers, or detainee centers, or whatever, migrant facilities. They're calling them all different kinds of things. The cartel, I said, controls who crosses illegally. They're fighting. These people that are trying to seek asylum, that are from all over. They are staying mainly shelter in Maduras. But in this shelter, they can only stay for a few days, and then they're back out on the streets. And the city of Maduras apparently has a very high crime rate. Kidnappings, assaults, shootouts. A gay male from Guatemala, that was a mouthful, started a camp, an LGBTQ camp. And I did see only adults in this camp, but there was what looked like could be space for children in the pictures that I saw. They looked very childlike. I don't know if that's just how that person chose to decorate, but because they are apparently the most vulnerable, from what they are saying. I don't know that that's true or not. I'm just repeating what this particular news station has said. That they're the most vulnerable, and that the shelter in Maduras, they can only stay to 3 days at a time. One guy said that he was waiting for a bus to go buy some things, and he was basically told to get in a car, so he did, and they started quizzing him about, does he have relatives in the United States? Does he this? Does he that? And he was like, no. So they basically stole his money and stole his phone and let him out. Okay, now here's my question. Where do you get a phone? Where is it getting? Is it just savings that he's had? Is he got a job there? Like, these are questions I have, because, like, these people, I'm not saying they're living in great conditions, because clearly they're not, but every person I saw an interview, and I don't know if the TV station got this way, or news station, whatever you want to call it, they were all clean. They had phones, like iPhones and stuff. They didn't look like someone that I would look at them and be like, wow, they're homeless and they're traveling up, like, you know, when you see pictures of Trail of Tears, or you see pictures of the genocide going on in Burma and Myanmar, where they're shoeless and draped in cloth and walking through mud. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to discredit their story. I'm just saying something's off. Genevali Lapri is the deputy rep for Mexico. He says that these camps should not exist, period. They just shouldn't be there. Which, maybe by law, they shouldn't. But the homeless camps that we have in the United States, they shouldn't be there either. But they are. because that's where they're living. By choice or by whatever way they got there, that's how they're living. Whether it was who knows what, you know? I mean, anything can derail someone's life to where they seek not so good or make not so good choices. You know what I mean? So, I don't know the deal with that, but I do know that we have endless homeless in the United States that we cannot take care of or cannot help. We have a population of drug addiction users in these homeless communities. They have entire tent cities that are basically all heroin and meth addicts in the United States already. So my point is, why are you opening up when you can't even take care of your own? That's my point. That's where I find problem. We have vets that can't get medical attention. We have homeless that can't get medical attention, that can't eat, that we have kids that starve. In my local area, we have a program called Operation Lunchbox, and shout out to them because they feed kids all summer long, and during this pandemic, they have fed children in my local county. And I think they do further out than just this local county, but they feed them because the only meal some of these kids get are at school. So all this fancy fangled stuff, everybody trying to keep up with the Joneses, and they're not even doing the right things. They're not even, there's so many problems with this. There's so many problems with this, guys. Like so many problems. And it stems from so many things. It stems from so many things. Why we've gotten to where we're at. But some things to think about is the Biden border crisis is trending. That hashtag is trending. They have actually, factually, at the border, arrested gang members and sexual offenders crossing in illegally. They are storing, and I say storing because that's what's happening. They're taking these people, they're herding them into convention centers. The Dallas Convention Center is going to hold teen males, unaccompanied teen males. I don't know their nationalities, just unaccompanied teen males, okay? They are eyeing NASA facilities to start holding people. There have been migrants arrested that are on the terror watch list at the border, being picked up by Border Patrol. The Biden Southern Border Coordinator, or the Southern Border Coordinator, she admits that immigration policy changes may have driven migrants to the border. You think? We are trying to chew gum and walk at the same time, is what she said. She actually said that. We are trying to walk and chew gum at the same time. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? The border is not open, Jacobson added in Spanish. What a joke. What a joke. It's sad. It is sad. It is so sad to see. Now, let me see if I can get this pulled up real quick, and I'm going to show you some pictures that have been taken by representatives that have went to these facilities where they're being held, right? Okay. All right. So this is, I will leave this link. I'll try to leave this link in the comments, but this is a picture released by Democrat Rep. Henry Sellier's office to show conditions inside at the USCBP facility in Donna, Texas over the weekend. Can y'all see that? Okay. The Biden administration has not allowed journalists to visit independently the facilities, but several lawmakers have visited. Here's more pictures. Okay. As of Sunday, there were 822 children being held at the Border Patrol facility to jail-like conditions for over 10 days. And this is CNN, and I don't even particularly like CNN at all, actually. I don't. But it's funny to me. Okay, so I just jumped on another platform to see what is trending under the hashtag Biden border crisis, and old Jack Dorsey, is censoring Project Veritas' new video showing never-before-seen photos inside Donna, Texas Immigration Detention Center. They are saying that some children have not seen sunlight for 10 days. Of course, if this was on Trump's dime or Trump's watch, you know it would be a ginormous problem. 86 million American tax-paying dollars for hotel rooms for migrants. Not veterans, not homeless U.S. citizens, single moms or single dads, not disabled, not Americans at all. They wanted voters, and we're having to pay for it, is what Gabriella Fox says. And I agree with her, 100%. These pictures are really sad. So they're trying to bring light to a situation. Project Veritas is, and I love them and I follow them, and they're amazing. James O'Keefe has done an amazing job at really, when they say, oh, it's one way, and he's like, no, really not. And he's out at a lot of things. And what's funny is all he has to do is ask, and the people that work at these places are like, yeah, here you go. I'm over it. Disgruntled employee, I'm over it. 15,000 plus migrant children are now being held in U.S. custody. Passed on Saturday, with 5,000 unaccompanied minors alone. That is Bearbot News. Bearbot News. This is going to blow your mind. So the percentage of increased immigration from 2020 to 2021, single adults is up 188%. Unaccompanied minors is up 92%. In, say, less than a year, less than 3 months. In less than 3 months, y'all. We can't take care of our vets. We're not taking care of our homeless either. We've got kids in the foster system, in a broken system that can't take care of anybody. We've got addicts on the street. We have tent cities all across the United States, and you're just open Joe, letting more people come in. And I'm not faulting anybody for wanting to come to the United States, because it's a great fucking country. But what I will fault is this administration's for just opening up the door and not having a foolproof plan. And Texas is suffering because of it, because their facilities are being full of unaccompanied minors. I don't want to take care of anybody else's kids. Like, I don't want that responsibility on me. Can you imagine how many children are just sitting they're just sitting because they have nowhere to go? Unaccompanied minors up 92%. That is unbelievable. Over 100,000 migrants attempted to cross the southern border last month. It's a national security issue. It is a humanitarian crisis. Good job, Joe. Now, they're saying they can't confine them to the border region, and Border Patrol is releasing illegal immigrants into U.S. without a court date, which I don't know if the court date is to seek asylum legally or to legally become a citizen, or if they hop the fence. I'm assuming, they came in, it says illegal, so they didn't come in the right way. Now they're just releasing them without a court date because they don't have anywhere to put them. I'm assuming that the people that are trying to seek asylum, they're trying to put them in a facility to get them asylum and get their paperwork or whatever they got to get going. But Joe, you had such a great plan for this. What's going on? What's happening? It's flopping, failing miserably. Miserably. And people are going to lose their shit over this. They need to. They need to. There should be a better way. There should be a better way. A wall can control who enters. You know that, Capitol Hill, because you built a big-ass fence around the hill. And you're not letting anybody in. So walls are good enough for you, but not good enough for the American people or the people that are trying to legally do it the right way and come into this country to be able to support their families and live out their dream. You are standing in their way. They literally ask illegal immigrants, why are you here? Because Joe Biden was elected. Basically. They knew it was their best shot. Would you have tried this when Donald Trump was president? Definitely not. To enter illegally. Not asylum seeking, illegally. I just can't, y'all. I just can't. I don't have any problem with anyone coming into this country, y'all. And what is so funny to me is they're calling Joe Biden the migrant president, the president of the migrants. Okay. Have y'all ever followed his political career? Clearly not. Clearly not. And this isn't even a Trump thing. This is just a fact thing. But Trump was married to an immigrant. His wife, clearly not born in the United States. Might I add, she speaks like 5 languages. And had she worn a scrunchie to buy a sandwich, you'd have ripped her to shreds. Double standard. Double standard. I digress. See, I got off on a tangent. I'm trying to talk about migration and I can't even do it because of all this. This is completely insane. The deportation moratorium that started the Joe Biden crisis. The hashtag Biden border crisis. That started it. They canceled the Keystone Pipeline. That hurts Canada too. The hidden tax hikes in the bill relief. Democrats attack on-state election safeguards in H.R. 1, and that's fact. Then they're coming after your guns. And Mr. Alejandro saying, we don't have a crisis at the border? Well, what do you call it, homie? What do you call it? They are currently right now trying to push 2 bills that would give some illegal immigrants citizenship, even amongst the border surge. And who handed out the Biden t-shirts? That's what I want to know. You can't make this stuff up, guys. The Biden administration is being reported to have gutted the border security in a way that has triggered a massive flood of immigrants. And when I say immigrants, I don't mean Mexican nationalists. I mean immigrants from all different places. Cuba, Nicaragua, Guatemala, El Salvador. All over the place. They're coming from all over the place. It's really sad. It's really sad that America is not being held accountable for taking care of the problems we already have. You cannot, their plate's too full. Joe Biden cannot even walk up a flight of steps, for God's sakes. He cannot finish a sentence, for God's sakes. So do you think that he is the one actually pulling these strings? No. No, 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 no. This is your far leftist Nancy Pelosi and Kamala Harris. And Kamala Harris put away more people of color than anyone in her district, and I believe in California. So I love the picture of her made up of all the faces of people she put away for minor offenses. That's where the problem starts in our country. When you break up the family, that's where the problem starts. And that's what they did. They did that. 50, 60, 70, however many years ago. They broke up the family. And now this is what's happening. That's my 2 cents on this whole immigration thing. The border crisis. The Biden border crisis. Hashtag Biden border crisis. because that's exactly what it is. He created a full-on border crisis by not taking the proper steps. We had a fairly decently working system as far as controlling what was coming in and out. And materials are already bought and paid for to finish the wall. And I understand with that, it displaces native animals. It goes through, you know, beautiful terrain, I'm sure, even though it's, you know, rough terrain. And I understand that, but when it comes to your nation's security and your family's security, like what if you were one of those South Texas farm owners that comes home to their windows busted out and some random man bleeding and sleeping in your bed? Or what about the ones that, the wife that was there alone and her husband couldn't get home to her because over the range, the mountain range that he has to come down, he doesn't have cell phone service for a good little window of time, and she couldn't get in touch with him. And there are illegal immigrants at her cobblestone little fence barrier. They're already on her property, but now they're almost to her house, and they're demanding that she make them food. What about the people that ICE has had to track down, like in trucks that are just running through people's farms? They've stolen vehicles. They've painted work trucks to look like a regular work truck, and then they're just running from ICE. So they're just busting through people's farms and busting through people's land. And like, what about that? What about the illegal immigrants that they catch and release and then come right back and are offenders? What about Operation Talon that Biden killed? An Operation Talon directly affected sexual predators. Guys, proof's in the pudding. Open your eyes. Do your own research. This is not an I hate Biden video. This is we have a broken immigration system video. Completely broken. And they're coming in because they can. They're coming in because they were promised benefits. They were promised free. They were promised a check. They didn't pay taxes for that check. But we are. We're fixing to have, that's why our taxes are going up. Not only to cover the $1.9 trillion bill that he just did, but what do you think is going to keep happening? How are they going to feed these people? How are they going to house these people? How are they going to get water to these people? They're okay, they're in the United States, but they're not in any better condition than they were. Maybe out of the element, but God knows how many people. And what happened to this gathering thing? Don't gather in large groups of people. Hopefully by the 4th of July, we can have our barbecues. I just want to know if you're drunk or high when you said that, because clearly you're clumping together thousands of people that God only knows if you've tested or not, that are here seeking asylum under your new promises. Promises that you can't keep, because you can't even keep the promises that you already made to the American people. Vets don't matter, I guess, to y'all. Homeless doesn't matter to you. I mean, literally. I mean, where are the Clintons on this? Because Bill Clinton started the wall. He started it. And then I guess now they're opposed to it. They were also friends with Trump too, you know, before he got elected president. They ran in his circle. But I think they ran in his circle because he was Trump. And it was a little check in their social box. I roll my eyes because I can't even. I have friends and clients, kids I've coached, followers that are all different nationalities, all different backgrounds, from all different places. I don't care where you came from. I don't care about that. I don't care about your origin, as long as it doesn't affect like the children when it comes to some of my other videos. You know, I've talked about that, but this is wrong. Guys, this is wrong. Where are all these children's parents? Where are their parents? Are they dead? Have they been killed by the cartel? Are they already in the United States and they left their kids behind? Because I don't care if I was living in a box. My kids would not leave me. Period. So all these factors, they don't add up. They just don't. And how, I don't also understand how there was more than just the Vice News, which I will tag their video. I will link their video in the comments. I do know how to do that. I'm still learning on here, guys, so bear with me. But there was more than just the one person there asking these questions. And I don't know where they're all from or what agencies or stations they represent. You know, so like this isn't just an American question thing. Like this is more than that. If your neighbors to the right and to the left couldn't feed their children and they said, here, you gotta, we're gonna charge you an extra $10% a year on your salary. We're going to take that from you. We know you're already struggling, but we're going to take that from you because we've just let in thousands and thousands and thousands of migrants seeking asylum, and we need to take care of them. That's basically what they're doing. You have Americans suffering in cities that have been shut down because of COVID, and then you're bringing in thousands and thousands of people and putting them in facilities and in cages and in jail-like conditions, and then telling the American worker that they can't work because of COVID. They can't gather because of COVID. Soapbox, y'all. Soapbox, because this problem has so many tendrils attached to it. It is unfreaking believable. It is not even a scratch. I haven't even scratched the surface. And it's sad. It's so sad. Because the only person that can stand in your way of living your life is you. But when things like this happen, a lot of people would say it's impossible. It's impossible to have the American dream anymore. We're getting taxed more. They're not looking after the American people. They're not looking after our soldiers. They're not looking after our veterans. They're not looking after our homeless. And if you look at California, for example, there is like there's a big jump in classes there. Like a big jump. Like a lot of the country, like everybody's kind of here, somewhere in this middle. Some might be, you know, closer to, you know, there's poverty everywhere. There's rich everywhere. But a lot of the country is in a median, I would say. But in certain states, that is very different. It's like this. Where you're either barely under the lower middle class, or you're dirt floor poor, literally, or you're upper middle class to rich. There's not a lot of median. Or I mean I know there is median, but like what you see is the rich, fancy lifestyles, and then the tent cities. I mean, I've been to California. I've been to different parts of California, so I know that's not an accurate description for every part of California. It's a beautiful place. And some of my family actually lives there, and I love them dearly, which is what everybody wants. To be able to live peacefully, afford to do what you want to do, have a job, take care of your family, and come home every night to your kids. Who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want that? Just think about that. I don't know where to go with this. I don't know who you need to call. Your congressmen, your legislators, right, the White House, even though I don't even know if Joe Biden's in there because he's always going to Delaware. Yeah, so that's my 2 cents, guys. I'm going to try to piece this together best I can, because I know I got off on a tangent several times, but this really, really, really bothers me. Really bothers me. And like I said, it's not the fact that we have people wanting to come to this country. It's the fact of the process of how to get here for people that want to come here to live the American dream and want to come here to have a better life. Is nearly impossible for them to do so because of the bad apples that are jumping in here and flooding gates and coming in illegally and being interlinked with the cartel. That's why. And if you don't think our drug problem is going to get worse because of this, you are flat out lost your damn mind. Because it's gonna. It's gonna. So, until next time, catch you later. Bye.